Hey everyone, it's Will, Gamer Dad, with another video for you. So in today's video, we're going to go over Monolka as a 5-star and of course review her buddy or sidekick Tetra as well. But the most important question of all is
she hot or not?
I want to say she's hot, but I don't dare to because I don't want to tangle with the chainsaw girl. Now that being said, Monolka is a very powerful fire sword slash user, and I know we have a lot of them, but this one's a little bit different. First of all, her VC is only at level 2 because you have to finish the story in order to unlock her quest for level 3 VC. Now, she does have a specialized normal attack that basically is a preemptive farming attack, increased with damage, which I'll show you a little bit later. And every turn start, she consumes 20% HP damage from all frontline members, and in return stacks Tributum on the user, which allows her to do tremendous amounts of damage. And finally, when the battle starts, she starts with Elemental Break Fire on all enemies. So she's a very powerful DPS and support on fire teams. So she does have a pretty varied kit. I went with the Paradox as well as her 2 5-star moves. Paradox is a fire slash on a single enemy medium, fire resistance of the user plus 10%. It actually increases by itself 10, 15, 20, so forth until 50% over 10 turns without needing to recast. And when it's in any zone, all party members MP consumption minus 50% for 5 turns. So pretty useful for support or farming in the overworld. She also does have Annihilator, which increases her user's max HP 25%. And obviously the buff is always off her Tributum stacks. And remember that the more HP your party has, the more Tributum she'll generate for herself. Sodom is a fire slash single enemy, and if it's resisted, increased damage 30 times. So very similar to Eva, where if the enemy is resistant, it will do a tremendous amount of damage. However, in general, now that she's a fire unit, you can actually use Alter Xion to Uno reverse weakness and resist. And finally, Exodus, it can self-restore HP, which I wouldn't use on general because of her interactions with damaging. Finally, her 2 5-star moves. Damnatio is an AoE, increased damage when target is pained, and again, max damage when having up to 50 Tributum. To maximize Tributum stacks, your party should have a total of about 20,000 HP or better, such that she can do 4,000 HP, which is 20% of the max at the beginning of every turn. And finally, Rip and Tear is her DPS move, single target times 3 XL. Barrier Pierce inflicts Elemental Break Fire, 3 stacks, and inflicts pain. Note that it does do 3 attacks, 3 hits, and so, it reapplies the break, which can now be consumed by her own move. And again, it is very similar to Eva, in which case, if the enemy has more than 50%, it does a double attack. Pretty crazy unit overall. So here's her 5-star board, and those are the 2 moves. She is, her main stats for power is extremely powerful. Not only that, she does have the sword as well as glutton personality, so you can use Xion or, for example, Nagi to carry for her. Standard Grasta setup. Being that she can apply her own pain, even early on, you can probably use any sorts of Grasta that you get a hold of, especially Pain Grasta. And let's not forget Tetra. So Tetra's abilities work really, really well with Monolka. Now, Monolka self-damages the party 20%. Hey, guess what? Not only Tetra attacks, it'll also restore all main and reserve party members 20% HP and restore all statuses. And when the frontline members have been below 80%, it charges 1 stack. And I'll show you that a little bit later in the video. And the skill effect increased by stats, it's just that if you have a higher level, I guess it'll now heal more when it does its move. And when you get 8 charges or higher, you can now do an AoE, ignores target defenses, which is a moderate damage at best. However, what the big bonus is that it restores all party members HP by 100%, revives KO'd allies, and grant hold ground. Like, how powerful is that? Not only that, if Monolka is in the front line, Monolka enters lethal mode, which means her power is now increased by 50. And remember that you can use Tetra independent of Minolka. So you can really summon for the buddy instead of the unit. Now, these two auras activate automatically when the HP is 80% or below. And so when it hits that, it does give that unit HP MP plus 25 max, as well as type and physical resist 30. And so I'll show you that in the video as well. So basically it remains active when the when your party is at that state at any time, and you'll see the max HP bar increase quite a bit during boss battles and things like that that last more than one turn. So let's take her out for a spin. If you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel, I really appreciate it. I also do have a Patreon account for those who want to support me this way. I didn't mention that she does interact with environments and things like that, but if you're not at the main story part 3, it's of really no consequence. Okay, so obviously her AoE does a tremendous amount of damage. That's the Damnatio. I really do like the names of her moves. But really, all you have to do is, if she's fighting by herself and you don't have any ability to increase your own max HP, you can do a lot of different things. You can set up with Paradox or one of the other moves that increases her max HP. And even with herself, she can use her sidekick behind her, and then you just use her main DPS Rip and Tear. I don't really feel that her other moves are necessary at this point. However, I will demonstrate some of her other farming abilities. So remember, she has a preemptive normal move, and it can be used over and over again. So it's not restrictive to 3 turns like some of the other units out there. Note that if you do use Rip and Tear and it kills one enemy, it does attack again on another mob to attack twice, since they kind of consider it more than full HP, so to speak. And note that when your HP is less than 80% and so forth, you can see the aura activated such that you get that benefit, and it'll show up in the statuses. It's a little bit confusing, but all you need to know is that Tetra is a very useful, supportive sidekick that can help shield your team, heal your team, and kind of cure all statuses. So the whole goal is to try to set up with a party at the first turn with more than 20,000 HP, including herself. And the easiest way is to do some of those Total Theater World badges that are increased HP 2000 for kind of a drawback, and you can choose the drawback of your choice. I usually choose the MP down, because in short fights, what does MP stand for anyway, right? You only need 1 or 2 turns. And especially since a 1-turn AF does not consume any MP. Now, just so you know, I did not demonstrate her used in any slash zone, because she is a slash unit and she can be used in slash zone easily. However, I feel that her benefits are much more easily shown in a fire elemental team. So keep that in mind when deciding what kind of team comps you want to use with Minolka. Anyways, with a 1-turn AF, you can clearly see she does a ton of damage, and if you allow her to attack last, you see those 3 stacks of elemental break. If the other units on your team do not attack, she can just one-shot kill everything, because each hit of elemental break will be consumed by her 3-hit combo, and then it just shreds it. Now, I understand that this boss is an older super boss. It's not really difficult at this point, but for newer viewers to this channel, I'm sure that you're wondering, oh, can she be used in early, mid, or end game? And clearly she can be. One benefit of having Aisha or any gacha units with 2 badge spots, such as 120 light or shadow or higher, is that you can put 2 HP badges on the same unit, which I have clearly done with Aisha, being that Aisha can set fire zone as well, and she's also a free unit. So for newer players, again, you can get her very easily. I think after chapter 13, you can already have access to her first quest, where she can join you as a guest, and even as a guest, she can be used on your team for fighting. Okay, like I said, Nagi can carry the Glutton Grasta, and we have Crest carrying for the Sword Inferno, as well as max HP, although you don't always get max HP very easily. In our next example, we're going to have some fun with Murphy. Now, with my 5-star review on Efi, I was able to do a 2-turn no AF strat, but with Minolka here now, we can actually do a 1-turn no AF strat, which is really ridiculous. Also note that she is able to apply pain even through the barrier and resist of Murphy, so I'm not sure if that's a glitch in the game because I remember that it resists status, and so I was very surprised to see that. But you can see the first 3 hits consumed the elemental break fire, however there was no pain status yet, and then pain got applied at the end of the 3rd hit. And so when she attacked again, because the enemy had more than 50% HP, the 3 hits with the benefit of pain, Grasta was able to shred right through Murphy's, and because Rip and Tear can bypass barriers, she is perfect for any barrier type fights. Chainsaw Girl does really wreak havoc and shreds everything in her way. So just to further that point, we're going to fight another super boss, a little bit older of course, and again not nearly as powerful as it used to be. This Mysterious Ogre had a lot of barrier hits where that if you attacked it, you get 0 damage, and so it was difficult to do a 1-turn AF to get to the point where you hit its first HP stopper, and then it puts up another 20 hit barrier, and you can easily die if you're not able to bypass that barrier or do enough hits. In our case, we're going to use a similar team, and note that everything is guarded except for Minoka's attacks. And it does attack twice. I believe each attack actually charges the bar, and so in any fire zone or say other flash strike stance, each of those 2 hits will hit twice, will charge the bar twice. So that's also very useful for kind of maintaining AF. So not only does she bypass barriers, the fact that she does 3 hits is very useful to bring down the number of shield hits barriers if they have multi-hit barriers. And you can see that even at the start of every turn, whether or not it's turn 1 or turn 2, she does self-damage the team 20%. Remember when I talked about Tetra giving everyone max HP and MP 25%? You can see that occurred as well because we dropped below 80% at some point in the fight. And we VC'd in Myunfa to increase crit damage for physical attacks by 50%. Note that we have an awakened or locked in zone. And then the awakened zone in combination with the increased critical damage as well as the barrier pierce from Minoka was able to clear through the Mysterious Ogre very, very easily. Again, you could, if you're wondering about some of this Grasta setup, they actually were remnants of other boss fights in the past, and so a lot of times when I'm doing either review videos or fights in general, I don't always customize to the min-max unless I absolutely need it to kill content. In this case, I do have Minoka having the best Grasta I can put on her, and other than that, Myunfa wasn't even needed for Grasta. She just needed her VC in to increase crit damage. Okay, as another example of bypassing barrier, and I know you may be sick and tired of these examples, but some of these are older, so let's do something a little bit newer, which is the Tales of the newest collab, Tales of Part 2, so to speak. These are the enhanced Raptors, and in this case we're going to fight Lloyd, because I thought Lloyd was one of the more difficult ones of the 4. Not only does Lloyd have HP stoppers, it can do kickback, it has barriers to reduce damage, and so on and so forth. And so we're going to use Ify here to prevent kickback, and we're just going to use Minoka as our main DPS, and again, same thing using Aisha because Aisha has 2 badges to make things easier to get that 50 Tributum stacks right off the bat. Again, if you're newer to the game and you don't have access to all the badges or things like that, even with lower amounts of Tributum, you'll still do a lot of damage. It's just you're going to not maximize her potential. And you know what? That's fine, right? Because the unit will grow along with you. If you got her early on, you'll still do a lot of damage. And then as you get more and more equipment, more and more Grasta, more and more gear, you're going to make her more and more powerful. So don't be alarmed if you're watching videos such as this and you're not able to put up the big numbers that I'm putting up. It's not that I'm wailing or anything like that. It's literally because I played the game a lot longer and grinded out each piece of Grasta, each piece of gear. And those will come your way eventually as well. And don't be overwhelmed by the amount of time or amount of materials I have, it actually, if you played it every day, a small amount every day, it actually comes faster than you think. It's only that if you're trying to grind it all out, like, you know, in the first 3 or 6 months, you're not going to feel very good. You're going to have a lot of burnout. And so, you know, I advise you to kind of take your time and slowly work your way through, and you'll get all these in due time. And we left Miyufa in there, although I should have put in Nagi or Glutton Carrier. Okay, so in our next example, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're actually going to do a stall technique, because remember, what would happen is that when you stall for 8 turns, you can now activate Tetra's special ability, which is the reincarnation, and that does put Minoka in lethal mode. Now, for the sake of this video, I actually didn't kill everybody off, because remember that it resurrects people from the dead as well. However, we already have multiple ways of resurrection from dead. This is really a cheap strat. We have Orlea, which already gives everyone hold ground. We have Ify with Blood Contract to everyone, which also allows everyone to come back from the dead. And we have Aisha, of course, with you know, tons of HP to maximize. Okay, so in that case, you saw that hit did 1-hit KO Minoka. Don't worry about it, because she had the hold ground for Molea. After that, you can see we've put multiple debuffs on the enemy just to mitigate any sort of damage. And remember what I said about the that destruction move? Haha, comes back from the dead again. See, we don't even need resurrection from Tetra. Okay, so we're waiting for 8 turns here. And so, like I was saying earlier, that farming move, that destruction move, it can be used over and over again preemptively until such time that she's dead, and it's 0 MP cost, which is quite nice too. So, I think this is a really, really good move built into such a useful unit. Again, useful for early, mid, or end game, and extreme end game as well. She clearly has enough DPS to punch through most super bosses that are vulnerable to fire. Okay, so if you're wondering what we're doing here and how to activate the sidekick, note that there's a button there, and then we're going to activate reincarnation. It gives everyone hold ground, which you probably can't see because everyone already had hold ground. I don't believe it gives a second one. Let's see. Actually, it does. It actually does give 2. If you look at the icons on Aisha, you actually get 2 hold grounds. So, you know, you'll have Orlea's, then you'll have resurrection, and all those other things that really are quite ridiculous at this point. So now we have the status of Minoka being in lethal mode. It looks like almost like a lunatic or trance mode, power plus 50, and it actually doesn't go away. So it's not like most lunatics or trances where it fades in 3 turns. I believe it stays active all the way until she either dies or you win the battle, or if you want to unleash her special move, you can actually use Destruction one last time, which will now do a non-elemental super hit. Keep in mind that that can be changed by Scintillating Spirit from units such as Ace Nikoko, and it'll also establish Slash Zone and Awaken Zone. We're not going to do that here because I'd rather have her 50 power to allow Rip and Tear to do even more damage. I know this unit seems kind of complicated, but the great thing about Minoka that I've found in my experimentation, she needs no setup after at all. All you need is to have 20,000 HP in front for the first turn, and you just blast away with Rip and Tear over and over and over again. Like a lot of other units needed, like, you know, a couple stacks here, a couple stacks there, take 1 or 2 turns to kind of build up. No. All you need to spam Rip and Tear, and she can apply Pain for you if you don't have Pain Grasta or any Pain setters. She's a one-woman, you know, demolition crew, so to speak. Okay, so in our next example, we're going to take on, again, a boss from the Tales Part 2, so to speak. This boss was very difficult because of the fact it has innate high resistance to elemental damage, and so we really do need elemental down. But I remember using Flam and Eva here, and in this case, she is our only DPS, Minoka. And keep in mind, she's only 4 shadow. She's not even a 16 shadow or a whale strat where we have hundreds of shadow. Just by herself, she was able to do that much damage. I know the other you know, team members added a little bit, but she did all that essentially herself. And if you attack last, again, we left the 3 elemental breaks for fire. And just as a reminder, as long as you don't attack with your other units, let her attack, and the Rip and Tear will not only consume the 3 elemental breaks, it will also benefit from each one being dealing double damage, which is enough to finish the rest of the HP after the HP stopper. All in all, I will say I've had a lot of fun experimenting with Minoka. I think she has a lot of potential, especially on fire teams. You can clearly see it can be on the fire elemental. Doesn't even have to be fire slash. So let me know what you think about Minoka. Do you think she's worthwhile getting? Do you think she's too overpowered, for example? Do you think we have too much fire sword units? Even after having a lot of fire sword free units, I have to say adding such powerful DPS is very, very fun. Okay, so in our last example, very quickly here, remember that she has that preemptive farming move. It actually increases in damage to a maximum multiplier based on up to 5 enemies. And so in this quick example, we're going to just one-shot everything here because it has 5 enemies. And so that's considered a farming move, and it's doing tens of millions of damage, which is pretty ridiculous for a unit that you just, these moves are just there. After that, we're just going to finish each of these stages. This is one of the later Battle Simulator or Boss Rush stages. And again, we're not really demonstrating anything except for the fact that we were able to do a lot of damage with that Destruction preemptive move, which is considered just a farming move and still able to do that much damage. Like, her farming move is probably equal to a Neptune level of damage. Being especially since she already has Elemental Break at the start of each battle, and if she attacks, that's what you get. Other than that, we're just going to finish it all off and quickly get to the last wave. This is another example where newer players might be a little bit intimidated by Boss Rush or Battle Simulator. I think especially if you have a lot of the newer units out there, most of these stages would be very easily handled. Like some of the videos you've probably seen from my older attempts maybe a year ago, for example, when the Boss Rush first came out, they were a lot harder. And nowadays, with newer units, you really don't have too much of a barrier. So don't be ashamed or afraid to try out Battle Simulator. I mean, you do get one Bold Pulse, every 3 or 4 times a day. And so, I mean, you can always try it out. If it doesn't work out, hey, leave it for the next time, right? And that's the end of that. So I'm not going to show the loadout because, I mean, like I said, it's just to show the farming ability of up to 5 enemies. So in conclusion, Minoka is the most powerful fire slash user out there. Regardless of whether or not you have a pretty good fire team or a pretty good fire slash team, I think you'll still find some use in Minoka. The only downside to Minoka, honestly, is the fact that we have other powerful banners at the same time as her. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.